This is really exciting that I'm sort of reintroducing the Home Equity Acceleration Plan to my audience and to advisors out there of really all kinds who can use this as a great value-added tool for clients and as a way to bring in new clients. So it's really what a lot of people are looking for in several different industries. So my name is Rocky DeFrancesco. I'm the founder of the Wealth Preservation Institute. And with this presentation, I'm literally going to go through a client presentation as the first part of the presentation because a lot of people do not even know really how the Home Equity Acceleration Plan works. And so I thought I'd just kind of roll through very quickly a client presentation. And then at the end, I'm going to go over my proprietary software. I'm going to go over the new mobile app, which is super cool. And then I'll go over how I think you should use it to bring in new clients and how to get their financial data so you can have a real discussion with them about their wealth. So without further ado, let me go through this client presentation. So, what is HEAP? You call it a new plan. Well, it's actually been around for a long time, but not very many people know of it. So when I say new, it'll be new to you. And again, this is a client presentation. So when you give it to the client, again, new. How would you like to pay off your home debt? This is a mortgage acceleration program. You're going to tell them how to pay down debt. How would you like to pay off your home mortgage several years earlier without changing your spending habits? And they're initially going to think of biweekly. So no, it's not a biweekly plan or some other plan that you're typically used to hearing. No, this is completely different than anything that you've seen before. This is a plan that you're in complete control of the whole time, which is nice. And once properly budgeted, there's really nothing you have to do, client. So once we set you up with this, you just live your life as normal, and it will start paying down your mortgage. And with this plan, there literally is no downside and no risk. So the client may be thinking to themselves, wow, that's too good to be true. It's not. And when they finally understand it, they'll understand that it's not too good to be true, but it is pretty cool. So things you need to know to understand how HEAP works. With mortgages, you have to understand that our mortgage interest is paid in arrears. So we're not paying for next month's interest now, we're paying for last month's interest every time we pay. And when you think about it, interest is charged every single day. So you pay your mortgage monthly, but their bank is charging you interest every single day. And certainly today, and even when I created this a few years ago, today specifically, boy, when you have money sitting in your checking account, what are you earning on it? You're earning nothing. So money sitting in your checking account earns you nothing, and that is not a good use of your money. The Home Equity Acceleration Plan is going to show you how to use your money more effectively. So how does it work, or who does it work for? Well, I hate to say this, but it only works for people who spend less than they make. If I had a plan that could help you pay off your mortgage quickly when you spend more than you make, I'd already be retired. There is no such thing. So it works for people who spend less than they make. It's for people who carry checking account balance, and you'll see why as we go along. The higher the average checking account balance you have in your checking account on a monthly basis, the better it works, the more surplus you have. And you must have equity in your home. And for some people, this will be a deal killer. And that's life. We can't be everything to everyone. So I have a home. It's worth $100,000. I've got $99,000 in debt on it. The Home Equity Acceleration Plan is not going to work for you. So you have to have some amount of equity. I'd like to say you really need to be able to get an equity line of at least $7,500, maybe $10,000 to make it work depending on the fact pattern. So how does it work? Well, you can see here in my client presentation, I've got what HEAP works. Look, you want to work with a HEAP certified advisor, which is somebody that knows how to use the system and somebody that I say knows how to use the system. Based on property budgeting, again, you're going to go obtain a home equity line of credit, a HELOC. And that's if somebody says HELOC, that's what they're talking about. So what are we going to do? We're going to take the HELOC that we get from our mortgage, and then we're going to pay down the primary balance on the mortgage. So we get a HELOC on the home, and pay down the primary balance on the mortgage. So it really is going to make initially no sense to your clients, okay? So if you can imagine having a $200,000 mortgage on a house that's worth $250,000, we may have you go out and get a $25,000 line of credit, and we may have you access that line of credit of $10,000. Therefore, you've borrowed $10,000 from your HELOC. We'll take the $10,000 from your HELOC, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to pay down your primary mortgage. And so you're going to have $190,000 on your primary mortgage and $10,000 in your HELOC. And what have we done for the client? Absolutely nothing. They still have $200,000 in mortgage debt. And in typical times, the HELOC rate, interest rate is usually a little bit higher. So maybe they'll think, wow, that's not, what is that doing for me? Well, let's see here. So after you set up your HELOC, after you borrow from your HELOC, you're going to use your HELOC as your primary checking account. Instead of taking your paycheck and depositing it into your checking account, which makes you nothing, you're going to deposit it into your HELOC account, thereby paying down mortgage debt. And when you have surplus at the end of every month, guess what? That surplus is automatically used to continue to pay down the HELOC. And so what you'll end up doing is, again, if you make more than you spend and you use the HELOC as your checking account, what you'll do is after so many months of doing this, your HELOC will get close to zero because the surplus will slowly start paying off the HELOC. When the HELOC gets close to zero, guess what you do? You take another $10,000 out of your HELOC and you pay down the primary mortgage. In a nutshell, that is the Home Equity Acceleration Plan. What does it allow you to do? Again, you're using every available dollar every day to pay down mortgage debt. Instead of having your checking account balance earning you zero, you've literally used to pay down a mortgage debt every single day. So let's see here. Again, in good part, HEAP works because you're using the surplus. So if I ran a client example for you where you literally spent every single dollar every single month and you had no surplus at all, you probably would pay off your mortgage, the typical client would pay off their mortgage about 12 to 14 months early, just because you used every single dollar every single day to pay down mortgage debt. Again, think of the time horizon. Typically you'll have a 30-year mortgage. When you're using every available dollar every single day to pay down mortgage debt, it works. But it's a lot sexier to say we showed you how to pay off your mortgage 5 years early or 10 years early or 15 years early, and that's when you have a surplus. And again, the surplus is automatically used to pay down your mortgage, or pay down the HELOC, I should say. And again, remember, you're in complete control of this at all times. If you want to do something different, you can. If you want to spend more money, you can. It's not there's no real limitation to it. So let's go look at a normal mortgage. This is what people hate. So this is a little bit of an older example because I've got a 6.25% mortgage instead of like a 4% mortgage, but that's okay. So we've got a $200,000 mortgage. There's our interest rate. There's our monthly payment, $1,231.43. Our first payment, only $189 of the over $1,200 is used to pay down principal. The rest of it is going towards interest. This is why people despise their mortgage. This is why people, when you tell them you have a way to show them how to pay off their mortgage quickly, will want to know more about it. And so you can see in the 60th month, still only $257 is going to pay down principal. So again, just a little visual. So let's go ahead and go through a client example here. I've got a client who makes $5,000 after tax, and while initially that may sound like a lot, it's not. That's $60,000 a year after tax. Their mortgage balance is $200. There's their mortgage payment, $1,231.43. Let's say they have $1,650 of normal monthly bills, maybe throw in some miscellaneous extra spending of $800. So we've got a total monthly outlay of $3,600 and change. That's our expenses, but we got $5,000 in income. So we're going to establish that credit line of $25,000. So we've got a $15,000 reserve. So if they had a medical bill, they had something they really needed to spend money on, actually having a HELOC is nice. Because otherwise, what does a client do when they really need cash? They put it on their credit card. And in this case, you're putting it at least in a HELOC where the interest is deductible. So having that line of credit can be a benefit regardless of using the Home Equity Acceleration Plan. So in this case, again, I had the equity line being at 7% because usually it's higher than the mortgage. And people say, wow, isn't that going to totally screw up the plan? It doesn't. It's de minimis. The use of a little higher interest rate on your HELOC versus your primary mortgage really doesn't mean anything. And I can give you the math of that if you want to see it. And this is my example I gave you. So $10,000 is immediately drawn on the HELOC and applied to the first mortgage. I've got my paycheck of $2,500. I'm going to deposit that into the HELOC. Then I'm going to take my expenses out, and I'm going to see what it looks like, which I believe we're going to have a chart here on the next slide, and there we go. So we started with the $10,000 balance. We had two payroll deposits, $25 and $25, and we roughly got down to a $5,100 balance in our HELOC. But then we had to pay all of our bills, right? It went up to $8,700 and change. We put in our two paychecks, and you can see how this ratchets down the HELOC. After so many months, the HELOC got towards zero. What happens when the HELOC gets towards zero in the bottom right-hand corner? You access another $10,000 and you pay that towards your primary mortgage. That's all the Home Equity Acceleration Plan is. You don't really need software to do it. In fact, if you just read my Home Equity Acceleration Plan book, you could do it, or your clients could do it. Software is helpful for a couple reasons. One, it's helpful for an advisor to be able to illustrate the power of the program to the client. So in that regard, it's sort of a good sales tool for the advisor. We actually can set up the consumer to use the software, and I'll talk about that with my Home Equity Acceleration Plan app. There's pros and cons to that. Some people will want to give out the app. Some people won't, and I can give you reasons for both. So what just happened? I took that $10,000, I put it towards the primary mortgage. I had my emergency fund. That's great. I'm sort of giving a summary slide. Look, one of the neat things about the Home Equity Acceleration Plan is it changes the way people think of money. So, well, if somebody had extra money sitting in their checking account and they were driving down the road and they saw a motorcycle or a go-kart or whatever it may be, knowing that they had cash sitting in their checking account, they would say to themselves, wow, I want that motorcycle, and they just go buy it. And it's not really a good use of their money. So if they instead did what? If they instead thought about where's the money really coming from? In the home equity line of credit, hey, if I go buy that motorcycle, I'm going to take money out of my home equity line of credit. I'm going to have interest being charged on that motorcycle expense that I just incurred. And so I'm telling you, it will change the way that people think about money, which is what a financial planner or an insurance agent wants. They want them to seriously and critically start thinking about their money and the best way to use their money to grow their wealth for retirement. So in this example, if the person just kept their $30,000 year, 30-year mortgage, they would have paid a total payment of over $400,000 in payments. Now remember, the balance was $200,000. In my example, they would have paid off the mortgage in 8.5 years, and they would have saved $177,000 in interest. That is the power of the Home Equity Acceleration Plan. That is why people will want to learn about it. That is why they will want their 3-page output from an advisor. What happens if you don't stay on budget? Well, it's not the end of the world. You know, you had more expenses this month. Guess what? It means you're not going to pay off your mortgage as quickly. Or you had less expenses this month. It means you're going to pay off your mortgage more quickly. So, you know, this isn't a rigid plan. It's the opposite of rigid. In fact, there's tons of flexibility for the client. So what's the alternative? What are people doing now? Well, people are doing nothing. That's the majority of what people are doing. We're doing nothing. We're living our lives, we're paying our mortgage as we go, and we're spending our money because we don't know any better. Now, some people are using biweekly plans. That's fine. Some people, if they just have the discipline to send their surplus at the end of every month to the mortgage company, they would get a result that's fairly similar to HEAP, except for they weren't using every available dollar every single day to pay their mortgage debt. So HEAP will work better than just sending your surplus to the mortgage company at the end of the month. And this is the money shot, okay? So this is the output from the software. This is what the client wants to see. They want you to run this for them. So the maroon bars are your 30-year mortgage. The green bars are your payments through the Home Equity Acceleration Plan. And the little orange bars are what? That's your home equity line of credit that you're cycling up and down. So there you go with the example. I mean, you know, keep it simple, stupid. Hopefully you understood most of what I've gone over already in this presentation, but keep it simple, stupid. Charts can say things that you can't verbalize to your clients. And when they look at this chart, what are they thinking to themselves? Man, that looks really cool. I want to figure out how to get those green bars working for me. So what